Another week, another Arkansas football recruiting report. Jacob Morris and Otis Kirk with you. Otis, a lot to cover. Some recruiting news to get to. First of all, Karr, a lineman, a four-star recruit, commits to Arkansas on Wednesday, class of 25. What do you got on him? It's another nice pickup for the staff.
I tell you what, I was surprised with the early commitment from him. It was a big pickup, man. I mean, the other day I put on there that the receiver wasn't coming to Arkansas, and a fan that goes, "We need some good news, Otis." Well, he got it with that. I don't remember which fan it was or which social media, but I remember the fans saying we need some good news. Well, Macarius Kern is the big news and good news you needed. 6'4", 305 pounds, Marion, Arkansas, a four-star with every recruiting service. Number one in Arkansas. I think it's Rivals that has O'Marion Robinson from Parkview number one, but the rest of them have Carius, and they're both great players, man. They're both great. But Kern is can play offense, can play defense. I figure he'll probably be offense at Arkansas, but he's capable of playing both sides of the ball. He earned a scholarship. He came to the first team camp up here last summer, very first one they had, and he earned a scholarship at that time. Since then, he's got a lot of out of SEC offers, but just in the SEC, he's got Florida, Georgia, Missouri, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. That's just in the SEC. That's basically the who's who, of college football there, and Louisville and Purdue. I mean, the list goes on and on. This kid's big time, and if you need some good news, you got it there with him. And actually, the fan was right. Arkansas did need some good news. We all could. It's a lot of negative stuff, but this was positive, very positive, in fact. And couldn't have come at a better time. It gives them. He joins Grayson Wilson and a couple out-of-staters, or three out-of-staters actually, is committed right now. They've got 5 in the 2025 class. I about forgot the batting kid from Atlanta, Texas. But Grayson and him are in state. This is a good in-state crop, and Sam and them need to do a good job of keeping these kids at home because it's. I think that's how you build your program. You start within the state, and everybody says that, but it needs to be applied and be real. And I think it really does start inside the state of Arkansas. And getting Kern and Grayson Wilson both. I think we've had Grayson on here twice, and I need to get Kern on. But they're big time players, and that's how you start. And it was just a great pickup, Jacob. I mean, they couldn't have hardly gotten a better player than that. I mean, there's not many out there. He's in the top 100 players, 200 players with all, like I said, and this is consensus. I mean, these are all the recruiting service. I'm not reaching over here and picking 24/7 or Rivals or On 3 or somebody. I mean, these are all of them consensus. He's big time. And so it's everybody. And so I'm not cherry picking a service to make Arkansas look good. This kid's big time with all of them. So that's how that's a difference maker. Anytime you get a difference maker, you get him. And like I said, he's capable of playing both ways. I really think he'll play offense at Arkansas, but who knows? I mean, he plays both ways, obviously, for Marion. I mean, he probably does a little bit of everything for them, but that was a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about it extensively, but if a kid like that is in Arkansas, it's not a matter of if, it's you have to bring that kid aboard. There's no way around it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just, you said it best. These kids don't grow on trees, right? And if they're in your backyard, you got to bring them to Arkansas.
Yeah, you've got Anthony Kennedy Jr. from Southwest and then Danny Beal from Cross County, two big linemen that entered the 2026 class. And those kids, you've got to keep them at home. I mean, they don't because, you may find a receiver or whatever here and there, a running back, but linemen like that, you got to keep them because they're hard to get. Everybody wants them. That's the thing about a lineman. When a kid is big like that, 300 plus, has good grades, has athleticism, can run, has good character. Everybody wants him, Jacob. I mean, everybody. There's a reason everybody wants him because, like you said, like we said, they don't grow on trees. So when you do get one like that, no matter where he's from, everybody wants him, and that's why it was used to get Carius Karr, get him committed, and you can start a class that way, man. I mean, with he and Grayson, that's kids will other in-state kids will look at Carius, they'll look at Grayson, and they'll say, hey, it's good. Arkansas is good for them. Why not? So, and there's some good players in the state in this class. Robinson's one I mentioned from Parkview. Parkview's got a whole bunch of them over there that can play, and I think 3 of them have Arkansas offers. Warren's got a receiver. It just goes on and on. Not Brian, I'm sorry. Bauxite's got a safety that was committed to Arkansas and decommitted, but they need to get him back. Marcus Wimberly, he's been on this show. So just keep these kids at home and recruit, and then you go out of state and get good players. They've gotten a running back from St. Louis, 4-star, 3-star receiver, or 3-star athlete, I'm sorry, from Atlanta, Texas. And then they've got the top kicker in the 2025 class committed to them. I think when they committed him, they thought he would come in and take Cam Little's place, but it turned out Cam Little left a year early. But they did get Matthew Shipley out of the transfer portal from Hawaii, and we're going to talk about another kid that's coming to kick here in just a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get there, let's stick in the trenches here. Preferred walk-on commit on Tuesday. Jonas Nance, Shiloh Christian kid. A nice pickup. He comes in as a preferred walk-on and another kind of add a body into the trenches, Otis.
Yeah, 6'5", 275. He can play. Oklahoma State thought they had him as a preferred walk-on. He had some offers, scholarship offers to play football, but he's a Power 5 player. I really believe that. And he reminds me of the kid from Conway last year that walked on at Arkansas. So he's bigger than he was, but this kid, I really think he'll play. I mean, I know he's a preferred walk-on, but if you can put 25, 30 pounds on this kid, and the thing about it is he's not going to be someone that they'll ask to come in and play next year, and everything. He's not, and that's fine. It doesn't hurt to develop some offensive linemen for 2-3 years down the road. They don't need to play necessarily as a freshman. There's some of them will. But Nance is definitely capable of playing at Arkansas, and I think he will. And I think he'll help the Razorbacks before he leaves here. I mean, they've had a history of not just offensive linemen. It's easy to say Brandon Burlsworth, but you take Grant Morgan, a bunch of kids that walked on here, went on and had success here, and then some of them even beyond here, And but Nance, I think he's got I think his best football's ahead of him. He was Hooten's football named him the number one lineman. I'm sorry, the number one lineman in the state of Arkansas in this 24 class. And so that's, they see, I know Hootens gets out and sees a lot of high school football players and games. And, so that's a good honor for that kid. And he's right here close by. And it's good they didn't let him go to Oklahoma State. I mean, there again, you want to keep those kids at home, because I think it means more to some of those kids to play at Arkansas than it does I think it means more to Jonas Nance in the fourth quarter to be at Arkansas than to be at Oklahoma State. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I never was highly recruited lineman or a player. So I weighed 132 pounds when I graduated from high school. So there wasn't a big demand for 132-pound lineman or anything for that matter. But he'll help Arkansas, Jacob. I mean, I really believe that. I mean, and like I said, it may be, I don't want people to come back and say, well, next year after he redshirts. No, I'm talking about 3 years, 2 years, 3 years down the road. I think he will help Arkansas. I just do that. There's no rush for him to do that. I know the kid wants to do it as soon as possible. I get that. But I mean, there's no rush for him to develop him. Take your time and get him right and get him on the field some. And he's capable of playing most of those positions. Smart kid, very smart kid. He came to a camp here. I want to say, Jacob, and I'm almost 99% sure it was the last football camp they had over there this summer. He came to it. It was a lineman camp and a team. They had a lineman camp and a team camp. It was the same camp that Ryan Mallett brought Whitehall up here to the team part. It was outside. The lineman camp was inside, and Jonas was at that. And I saw him. He looked good. And So yeah, I think you got a good one there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked a lot about it, but you keep the local kids, and I do think you're right. I guess you can't know specifically for his case, right? But there was a lot of talk about last year during the struggles, understanding the importance of what it means to play for Arkansas, right? It might
Yeah,
sound silly to extrapolate that out and talk about it, but it's real. If you bring in kids
I
that understand that and have been around that for a long time, that helps.
I think that's how you get leaders too. So you don't. Everybody thinks when you say a leader, it's got to be the star 5-star player. No, I mean Grant Morgan and Hayden Henry both started out as walk. Hayden was kind of an asterisk because he had a scholarship. It was full, they were full, so they promised him if he'd walk on for one semester, he would get a scholarship in January. So he wasn't really. He was, but he wasn't a true walk on, Hayden Henry. But but what I'm saying is he wasn't a 5-star recruit. Grant Morgan did walk on, true walk on, earned a scholarship. Those guys were your leaders, and that's that. But both of them kids, both of them grew up on the Razorback program. Both of them had brothers that played here. They knew what it meant to be a Razorback. It, they bled Razorbacks. And Brendan Burlsworth walk on was a leader. My son played 2 years over there when Brandon was here, I believe, or 1 year, and he loved Brandon Burlsworth. It didn't matter who the kid was. It didn't have to be the star receiver or whatever. Brandon Burlsworth took time out to talk to him and give them information, give them encouragement stuff. And my son loves him today. I mean, and that's what it takes. Brandon Burlsworth knew what it meant to be a Razorback. Yeah, I know. I definitely don't think. I know people that that don't know, not associated with the program, may think that sounds silly, but it's not. It's really true. And I think, and Jonas Nance is one of those kids that I'm sure understands what it means to be a Razorback. And that's why at the end of the day, he could have gone to Oklahoma State. He could have gone to other places on a scholarship. He could have gone to Navy, but he chose to be a Razorback, and I think it'll pay off for Sam Pittman and Eric Mateus and all these guys down the road. I tell you, Eric Mateus is knocking it out of the park with his recruiting. He's doing a really good job. I mean, the guy's offering a lot of kids. He landed some kids out of the portal. He got he helped with Carius Kearns certainly, and Coach Kennedy and Coach Adams and Coach Pittman all did a good job with Carius before Eric got here. But these kids like Mateus, and he's like the rest of them over there. They're good coaches, and I was proud to see them get these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see on the field results come August, but off the field it's been pretty good so
Right,
far.
right.
Shifting over to let's talk special teams. You teased it a little bit earlier, Otis. Kicker Charlie Von der Meeden from Texas
Yeah, come
commits to
on.
Arkansas. An interesting kind of pickup for the Razorbacks, and kind of again you bring in guys to compete. It's kind of hard to fill the shoes of Cam Little, but at least you're trying. You're bringing in highly touted
Yeah,
kicking guys to at least make an
yeah,
attempt, right?
yeah.
Class of 25.
You never know how a kicker. Their mentality is uh they're different. I don't know how to. I don't want. I don't want to sound like they're weird or anything, but their mentality is just different. And you never know how a kicker's going to be. You may get this highly sought after kicker. Arkansas has done it. They've landed scholarship kickers in the past several years ago, and some walk on would beat them out. So you don't know. Kickers have different mentalities than other people do, and this kid did it all for Tom Ball. He punted, he kicked off, he kicked PATs, he kicked field goals. 47, yeah, 47 was his long. He was 4 out of 6 on field goals. He missed 34 of 35 PATs. I don't know if he missed one or he got blocked. Punted for a 37.2 average, had a long of 62 yards. And he averaged 52.1 yards on kickoffs. So he did it all for Tom Ball. He anything special team. And Scott Fountain has done a great job over there. I mean, there was a school or two mentioned, South Carolina, a couple of schools mentioned possibly hiring him, but Arkansas kept him. And I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how serious all those talks were, but there was rumors. And the thing of it is, Sam's had him since he got here. That's the one coordinator that stayed with him, and last year was new ones on offense and defense, but Scott's been here each year. He does a good job. He runs that specialty camp, not specialty, specialty camp in the summer. And he works the senior. Like I said, he's got the number one kicker in 2025 committed to him already. So I mean, he does a good job recruiting, and you don't want to turn down a kicker because, like I said, you can offer they have a scholarship kicker coming in out of the portal, but you never know how they're going to do. And again, although it does help the fact that Shipley has kicked at Hawaii, so he's been in college games, so it's the bright lights, the big stage shouldn't frighten him because he's been there and done that. I know, while you play some quality opponents. And so, yeah, but it's just good to get a kicker. And it does. I mean, and Scott, through the years, I know last year Cam handled all the place kicking because Vito Calvaruso had transferred back from Wisconsin, but wasn't eligible. So Cam handled all of it. But Scott in the past has really preferred that someone kick off and then have a place kicker for the rest of it, So that's a possibility, although Calvaruso will be back in the mix next year, and I would be surprised if he doesn't kick off. He's got that kid Vito's got a cannon for a leg. I don't know what comes out of that leg when he kicks football, but man, it explodes. And he's one of the best kickoff guys I've seen at Arkansas. He really is. And when he transferred, because he wanted a chance to go somewhere to kick field goals and stuff, and he went to Wisconsin. It didn't work out for him, but for his kick, I thought he was a big loss myself, even though he came to Arkansas. He came as a walk-on, earned a scholarship, but then wanted a bigger role. And he saw Cam here too. I mean, Cam was ahead of him, and that wasn't going to change. Cam was going to be the kicker as long as he was here. But it's nice to pick up this kid from Tomball and Texas, and we'll see how it works out for him. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's hard to step into the shoes of Cam Little, but I guess that will be a year down the road, class of 25 kids. Maybe he'll be a little bit out of the shadow at that point. But wrapping up here,
Yeah.
I'm glad you wanted to talk about this. I saw this. I was excited. FanDuel releasing season over/under win totals right now. Arkansas at 5.5. Interesting
Yeah.
spot for the Razorbacks, but I think ultimately fair, right? When you consider what happened last season, what do you think in terms of 5.5? What do you got?
I don't have an issue with that.
I don't either.
I don't
Yeah.
have an issue with that at all. Not at all. I mean, they won 4 games last
Yeah.
year. So they're saying Arkansas is going to be improved. I honestly think they'll win more than 5, but you know, I I thought it was interesting that Alabama was not number 1.
Nine and a
Georgia,
half. Yeah.
not. I mean, there's a tie at the top with 10.5 for anyone that hasn't seen my story I wrote today. But Texas and Georgia are tied at the top with 10.5. Alabama, Ole Miss, and Missouri are at 9.5. I believe that's the only 3. I know those 3 are. Yeah, that's the only 3 at 9.5. No, LSU. I'm sorry. I knew there was another one. LSU's in there at 9.5. Tennessee's at 8.5. A&M's at 8.5. The one school that I put in there outside the SEC was Oklahoma State because Arkansas plays them in week 2, and they're at 7.5. So that'll be a big game in Stillwater. You play UAPB in Little Rock, then you go to Stillwater, then you come back here and play UAB. But I find that interesting that they've got Oklahoma State there at 7.5. But in the SEC, I thought Arkansas was fairly picked there, but you got Auburn at 7.5. OU's at 7.5. That surprise you if they're that low?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you saw OU started at 6.5, and so much money came in, they instantly jumped to 7.5. That still seems a little low, though. No?
I did not see that at
Yeah,
6.5. Wow, I was surprised at 7.5. To be
yeah, yeah. No,
honest,
6.5 was shocking. 7.5 still pretty low.
yeah, 6.5. Heck, that'd be worth putting some money on.
That's what I
That's
said.
crazy because when OU and Texas were announced for the SEC, everybody assumed that OU was going to be the big dog and Texas would come in, and kind of be struggling. And last year, Texas turned it around, beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and really turned it around. And then Saban leaves, so they're 9.5 at Alabama. But yeah, that's the one that probably OU surprised me more than any of them. Mississippi State 4.5. Vanderbilt's 2.5, poor Vandy. South Carolina is there with Arkansas, and Florida's, I knew there was another one. Florida is there with Arkansas at 5.5. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty wide open. Uh, you go by that, but and Arkansas plays a lot of those teams. They don't play OU, but they don't play Georgia and they don't play Alabama, so that's a plus right there. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I thought those were honestly, I thought most of, and of course Vegas knows what they're
Yeah.
doing. They don't throw stuff out there to go bankrupt. They don't build the building. We went out there to a concert at 2019, May of 2019. And Vegas doesn't have all these tall buildings, these big buildings by losing money. So we weren't there to gamble. We went to see the Chainsmokers concert. But yeah, it's I love going to Vegas, man. And I don't gamble at all, but I love going out there. I like the atmosphere out there, man.
Yeah. I think
That's where
also
the Super Bowl's at today. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I didn't think of that when I was talking about Vegas, but yeah, there's Super Bowls there today. So I'm proud I'm not there today. That's gonna be a crazy place today.
The place to be today for sure.
Oh man.
I did think in terms of the win totals, it's interesting. I think Arkansas fans see, right, all right, no Georgia, no Alabama, and you get excited potentially. You think the schedule's easier, but when you start listing off those at the top,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of other 9.5 and 10.5 that Arkansas is going to have to deal with. The positive is a lot of them come to Fayetteville this year, but when you
Yeah.
talk about Ole Miss, you talk about LSU, you talk about Texas, and even
Yeah.
Tennessee, I think, is at 8.5,
Yeah.
and they have the
Yeah,
potential
they're
of their
8.5.
quarterback to be really good this year. And it's nice you get those in Razorback Stadium, but this schedule by no stretch of imagination is a cakewalk compared to what it was
Oh,
last year, or something like that. Just because you avoid Georgia and Alabama doesn't mean you don't still play a lot of that upper echelon of the conference.
exactly. And I guess the hope is as you said, one thing. Of course, it wasn't an advantage for them last year when teams came to Razorback Stadium. It was a disadvantage. But I don't. I think they'll get that. I don't know. And I asked Sam that at press conference maybe twice. What happened in Texas? Because I think that'll change this year. What am I basing that on? I I don't know, Jacob. I just think that they'll play better at home. I think if they had won some of those, because the schedule was top heavy for road games. I think if they had won some of those games, like the LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, some of those, I don't know what they'd have had that collapse at the end that they had. I don't know. I get a feeling they wouldn't have, but you never know. But it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. But you're right. I mean, you've got LSU, Texas, Missouri, or not Missouri doesn't come here, but LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee and Texas do, and the worst one of that's an 8.5, and you go to Oklahoma State at 7.5. So and you do go to Missouri at 9.5. So it's not an easy schedule, but
Yeah.
not one you say, man. You look at it and say, man, I see 9 and 10 wins there, but if Arkansas can get off to a good start, I think that's the key to this whole thing, Jacob. Just get off to a good start. If they do that, I think A&M is beatable. They are most years. Arkansas never seems to beat them hardly, but I think A&M is beatable. Oklahoma State is beatable. If you can win some of those games, I don't know about. I mean, Auburn there will be tough, but I if you come out of that 2-1, I don't know what they can, but if you can come out of that 2-1, I think you'll see a pretty good season. But
Yeah.
if you Oklahoma State, Auburn, and A&M in that first month, I'm assuming they take care of business against UAPB and UAB. But so if you could come out of that 2-1, in other words, be 4-1 heading into October, then I think you got a chance to have a pretty good season. And they'll exceed, if they're 4-1 at the end of September, they will exceed the 5.5. I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that they will exceed that. So but that's the key to me. The whole thing, all the negativity around the program and stuff, the key to me, this whole thing is get off to a good start. That quiets the critics, the doubters, and it turns it into a positive, and then you can build positive energy, and play with confidence. I think they lost their confidence last year, and so the key is going to be get off to a good start. And if they can do that, and the schedule It's not easy, but it's fair. It's there at first. You got Auburn, A&M. Both those are 8-5. Oklahoma State 7-5. So they're not like 9-5, 10-5 picks, So projected records. So you just got to win some of those, and we'll see. But I know they went. South Alabama went to Oklahoma State and won last year, so it can be done. But Oklahoma State, there again, Oklahoma State got better as the year went on. Arkansas got worse. So that's going to be the key.
I was going to say Oklahoma State ended up in the Big 12 championship game
Yeah.
with Jerry World.
South Carolina just smoked them 33-7, man. They went over and just
Crazy.
smoked them. And you would have bet your life at that point Oklahoma State was not going to go to the Big 12 championship. I mean, if anyone would have laughed you out of Stillwater and called you a homer if you'd have told them this team will beat OU and they will go to the Big 12 championship game when they got rolled 33-7. I mean, that was a game where I guess I've talked to people over there and they just said everything went wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that could go wrong went wrong. But it was early enough in the season that Gundy could rebound from it and get the team to rebound from it, and they could go and have a good season,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Just about 6 or so months away. We're getting there. Half a year away or so from UAPB in Little Rock. But that's going to do it for this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Jacob Morris and Otis Kirk, we'll see you next week.